Hello and welcome to the Voice of Liberty podcast. My name is Henry Conley. Glad to have you here tonight. Tonight, I want to talk about Russia. I want to talk about treason, and I want to talk about Trump. For anybody that's out of the loop on what's been going on in the recent couple days, a report came out, and it was published by the New York Times, and then it was published by a few other news organizations that stated that Donald Trump was briefed on a report that Russia was placing bounties on American troops' heads in Afghanistan. Now, I feel like I got to get a couple things out of the way here, being that I am a libertarian and that this is a libertarian-oriented show, and I need to talk about something here. No matter what your feelings are on troops being overseas, something has to be understood. That while they are deployed over there, it is the job of the President of the United States to ensure that he takes intelligence reports and evidence, however credible it may be, to protect their lives. Because at the end of the day, he is the commander-in-chief. They are his troops, and they are over there because he has not pulled them back. No matter what we talk about when we say, bring the troops home, no matter how much we say end foreign war, libertarians, we need to admit something. That us taking office, we aren't going to solve this day one, and we will be held to the same responsibility to protect the men and women who are over there. Donald Trump decided to ignore these reports. As we've seen with other situations where Russia or Putin are involved, he lashes out at those who attempt to say something to him that is negative in reference to Russia or Putin. He lashes out. He loses it. He tells people to not give him those reports. He sends them out of the room, and he ensures that they are never a part of one of his briefings again, anytime that it involves Russia or Putin. So it's not at all surprising to me that a report that involves Russia and Putin putting bounties on U.S. troops overseas, it's not surprising to me that he ignored it, or that he pretended it wasn't valid, or that he pretended he didn't have to take action on it. To my libertarian friends, I say this again. No matter what we think about those troops being over there, the President of the United States has a responsibility to ensure their safety as best as he can. And yes, having them over there puts them in extreme danger. But while they're over there, he is responsible for their safety as best as he can guarantee. Just as their generals, just as their non-commissioned officers are responsible for their safety. Russia putting a bounty on American soldiers overseas, that's horrendous. That's horrible. I can't necessarily state what I would have done if I was in that position, but I can sure as hell tell you that I would have taken the report serious. I can sure as hell tell you that I would have leaned on the experts in the matters to try and find a solution that didn't involve a war. Putin, this isn't surprising with him. See, Putin, he's ex-KGB. Putin is damn near one of the greatest spies to ever live. See, Putin, he knows how to destabilize regions in order for Russia and him to capitalize and gain. We've seen him do it in Syria. We've seen him do it in the Ukraine. And we're seeing it happen in the Middle East right now. Putin is playing right into Trump's hand. But this goes beyond Putin. This goes beyond Russia. This gets really down and dirty when you look at what this is. This is dereliction of duty on Trump's part. This is Trump literally failing to do the job he was elected to do. This is just another failure. This is just another dereliction of duty, but this is a major dereliction of duty. Dare I say treason? It was quoted by one of the House one of the members of the House in a briefing today that if this isn't treason, I don't know what is. And damn, that is right. Instead of dealing with these reports, instead of dealing with these very real, credible intelligence reports, Donald Trump went golfing. Donald Trump scheduled campaign rallies. Donald Trump focused more on the polls and how he looks in them than he did the very men and women who have to salute him and call him their commander-in-chief. Trump cares more about winning the election than he does protecting service members overseas. If he really cared about them, yes, he would have brought them home. But if he at least somewhat cared about them, he would have done something when these reports surfaced. Instead, what does he do? Well, this morning on Twitter, he goes on and says that this was a Russian bounty story was just made up by the fake news. It's made to damage me and the Republican Party. The secret source probably does not even exist, just like the story itself. See, just like he did with coronavirus, Trump is trying to play this off as his enemies in the Democrats are attempting to create fake stories to damage him, to damage the Republican Party. And see, this is his typical way of passing the buck. I ain't failed to do what I did. I ain't failed to do what I know I have to do. Why would I fail at that? Of course I wasn't going to believe it. It's fake. It's completely fake. It's made up to damage me. They hate me. Fake news hates me. All the while, men and women are dying and being put in body bags, shipped over on planes with American flags draped over their bodies because of his failure to act on credible intelligence. If I sound a little pissed off, it's because I actually am. Because as much as I sit there and I say that the troops need to come home, I do recognize that it's a very tough process. And I recognize that while they are over there, their lives mean literally everything. Whether they are fighting for what they believe they are fighting for or what we know to be true, their lives fucking matter. And for the President of the United States to fail to do what his job is in protecting them as best as he can, every single one of those bodies, their blood is on his hands. He is culpable in their murder. He has committed treason. The President of the United States, I don't know what it's going to take before the FBI storms into the White House and arrests this man for these crimes that he is committing. But I have a bigger question, and one that kind of hurts me to even have to ask. Trump parades around hugging the American flag. Trump parades around saying how much he cares about soldiers. Ignore the fact that he purposely faked medical reports to avoid deployment. Trump parades around trying to pretend that he gives a shit about these men and women. I wonder what the families of those that he has paraded around on his very stages feel, thinking that the possibility was their father, their mother, their husband, their wife, whatever it may be, was murdered because Russia put a bounty on their head and Donald Trump failed to act. I can't imagine the amount of pain that these family members are feeling, realizing that they stood on a stage with the man who is culpable for the murder of their family member. It's absolutely freaking disgusting. It makes me sick to my stomach. I actually was questioning whether I was going to do this episode tonight, and the main reason was because I know I cannot be level-headed, cool, calm, and composed like I typically am when faced with the actual credible facts of this. It's amazing when a news site like the Military Times is sitting there and discussing how very real and actually true these reports are. Yet Donald Trump turns around and plays the fake news game. And what's Fox News going to do? They're going to continue to tug him. What's OANN going to do? They are going to continue to tug him. They are going to continue to play at his ego, and his supporters will continue to pretend that their president is not culpable in the murder of hundreds, thousands, who knows how many soldiers died because of this bounty. Donald Trump, he's a dangerous man. I don't have a stake in the game right now with the presidential candidate. I've admitted this multiple times. But at this point, I'm pretty sure that a 3-week-old spoiled pizza would be better in the White House than Donald Trump. I'm not going to use this time to plug a presidential candidate over another, because right now, in my opinion, most of the ones that have been decided on already by their respective parties are trash. But what I will use this moment to do is to say that whoever enters the White House next needs to focus on data. They need to focus on what their experts are telling them, and they need to stop and think. If Donald Trump is elected to a second term, I fear for what will happen to American soldiers. I fear what will happen to us, what will happen to reality, because for his cult, reality does not exist. So to everyone that watches this, what are you to do? The only thing I can offer you is this: to think about who you would prefer to see handling this situation. To think what it would feel like to be told that your family member who died overseas was potentially killed because the president of the United States ignored a bounty put on their head. It's time for us to be vocal. It's time to be a voice of liberty. Awaken the voice of liberty.